Leadership, the fetish worship of one man, is a passing phase. Then Churchill adds, a state of society where men may not speak their minds, where children denounce their parents to the police, such a state cannot long endure if brought into contact with a healthy outside world. And finally, Churchill again uses the rhetorical question by asking, is this a call to war? Does anyone pretend that preparation of resistance to aggression is unleashing war? Declare it to be the sole guarantee of peace. Churchill succeeds through this speech, which becomes one of his most famous, in persuading America to sympathize with Europe's challenge against Hitler. Yet America does not enter the war until after the Pearl Harbor attacks of 1941, which is approximately 3 years later.
Winston Churchill had his own unique way of getting his point across. He always put a different kind of emphasis on his points than any other speaker did. He used a vast vocabulary to paint a picture in great detail of what he wanted to get across. In this speech to America, each sentence had its own significance to it. I will pick apart these points and show you what made this such a great speech. Like Julie said earlier with the quote, if there is ever a time when men and women who cherish the ideals of the founders of the British and American Constitution should ever come to counsel with one another, that time is now. He puts this message straight out for the people, and that statement can be considered the thesis, or better yet, the foundation of his speech. That time is now. He is implying that action and aggression needs to be taken immediately. Winston Churchill describes the peace of the world as deserted, destroyed, and devoured. D. That is considered an alliteration. Also, using the powerful words as deserted, devoured. He then puts himself in the view of the people by saying that when this war is over, we shall be able to say to ourselves, well, that's out of the way, anyhow. Now let's go on with our regular daily lives. He also asks questions that the audience may have, like, is this the end, or is there more to come? He then quotes a famous British author, Rudyard Kipling, leave to live by no man's leave underneath the law. His biggest part of the speech is when he is condescending upon the Nazis, saying that in Germany, children are to be taught in their earliest schoolings the delights and profits of conquest and aggression. And then he goes on to talk about the repetition that he uses. Like the communists, the Nazis tolerate no opinion but their own. Like the communists, they feed on hatred. Like the communists, they must seek from time to time, and always at shorter intervals, a new target, a new prize, a new victim. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Mid-speech, he then goes on to directly speak to America by saying, far away, happily protected by Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, you, the people of the United States, to whom I now have a chance to speak, are the spectators, and may I add the increasingly involved spectators, of these tragedies and crimes. We are left in no doubt where American convictions and sympathies lie. But will you wait until British freedom and independence have succumbed, and then take up cause when it's three-quarters ruined, yourselves alone? He then shows confidence by saying, the British people will stand erect, and they will face whatever is to come. And then he ends his speech with a very powerful message saying that their faithful and zealous comradeship would almost between night and morning clear the path of progress and banish from all our lives the fear which already darkens the sunlight to hundreds of millions of men.
We were greatly inspired to choose Winston Churchill because he turned his political passion into some of the most powerful, thought-provoking speeches of his time. Churchill made a lot of his speeches on the brink of and during World War II. He had the ability to take thoughts and fears of the average person and turn them into words and action. His skill invoked the confidence of his audience, and he had a knack for saying just what they needed to hear. In 1998, Time magazine placed him on their list of the 100 most important people of the 20th century, in part because Churchill, and I quote, was uniquely stirred by the challenge of war and found his fulfillment in leading the democracies to victory. He was truly in his element when rallying people behind the call to freedom. This speech was powerful and never wavered from his true ideals. He spoke in terms that people could understand and appealed to their sensibilities. The many concepts we learned in this class can easily be applied to the In Defense of Freedom speech. We talked about why Winston Churchill was such a great speaker, the significance of the In Defense of Freedom speech, and why this speech was so significant. This speech and speeches worldwide can be summed up in Churchill's own words. Broadly speaking, the short words are the best, the old words the best of all.